The transport ship Horizon Trace drifted through the silent veil between stars as if trying to hide from the war tearing the Orion Spur apart. Inside its narrow medical bay stood a single human soldier named Leon. He had endured many battles, but none of those trials prepared him for what awaited him now. The air hummed faintly with the low throb of alien machinery that had been retrofitted into the ship only hours before. In the center of the bay lay the unconscious princess of the Ilari Dominion, a race known for radiant skin markings and voices that shimmered like charged crystal. Her name was Leora. Her breathing was shallow, her pulse faint, her condition dire. Leon stood over her with a sense of urgency pressing against his chest. He had rescued her from the ruins of an orbital station where her people had made their stand. She was the only surviving heir of her lineage, and the last known diplomat who still believed peace with humanity could be possible. Without her, the fragile negotiations between the two civilizations would collapse. The ship's medic had examined her and delivered the cruel truth. She would not live without an immediate transfusion from a compatible source. Ilari blood differed drastically from human blood, but rare circumstances allowed temporary compatibility when mixed with a specially tuned nanomedic serum. Only one person aboard had the correct genetic markers for the procedure. Leon did not hesitate when the medic asked for consent. Now he placed his arm into the aperture of the alien transfusion device. The machine hissed softly as it drew his blood, blended it with the shimmering golden serum, and guided it through channels of crystallized conduits into Leora's veins. As the process continued, he felt a deep coldness spreading slowly through his arm, then up to his shoulder. The medic had warned him that the machine required mental steadiness to synchronize the biological signatures of donor and recipient. Leon closed his eyes and steadied his breathing. Thoughts of his homeworld rose gently in his mind. He saw the windswept plains where he had once played as a child, the burning red sunsets, and the sound of rain on the metal roof of his family's shelter. Those memories anchored him as the machine deepened the link. Leora stirred. Her fingers twitched faintly, and her markings glowed with a soft silver light. The medic watched the readings intensify. Then the machine sank into a deeper phase, one no human doctor had ever witnessed directly. Ilari transfusion devices were designed to merge more than blood. They forged a temporary resonance between donor and recipient. It ensured the alien immune system would accept the foreign fluid rather than destroy it. Leon could feel it. A strange warmth spread through his thoughts, like another presence lightly touching the fringes of his awareness. It did not speak. It did not push. It simply existed near him, brushing his consciousness gently like a quiet tide. Minutes passed. Then the machine gave a final sharp tone. The transfusion was complete. Leon exhaled. The medic detached him from the device and guided him to sit. Leora's breathing grew stronger. Her markings brightened. Her eyelids fluttered, and she slowly opened her eyes. Leon had seen Ilari before, but never this close and never under such fragile circumstances. Her eyes shimmered like deep violet currents moving beneath glass. She looked from the medic to Leon. Confusion flashed across her face first, then recognition. She whispered a single word of thanks. The medic urged her to rest. Leon nodded silently and stood. As he walked toward the exit, a sharp pulsing sensation echoed in his head. He paused, gripping the frame of the doorway. The medic rushed over. Concern etched across his features. Before Leon could speak, the pulse vanished. He insisted he was fine and left the bay. Hours passed as Horizon Trace cut through space toward the nearest Allied station. During that time, Leon tried to rest in the barracks, but each time he closed his eyes, faint impressions drifted through his mind. He sensed flashes of Leora's emotions, subtle and faint, yet undeniably present. He told himself it was nothing more than stress. The war, the rescue, the transfusion. All of it could easily conjure imagined sensations. Yet the impressions persisted. When the station came into view, Leon joined the escort team, preparing to accompany Leora upon arrival. He felt a steady ache pulsing behind his temples. When Leora emerged from the medbay, she looked stronger, though still pale. Her gaze rested on Leon longer than on anyone else. The escort team led her through the docking tunnel. Light from the station's corridor panels reflected off her radiant markings. A group of diplomats awaited them, both human and Ilari. The atmosphere felt thick with both hope and fear. Leora greeted the delegates with formal composure. When she introduced Leon as the soldier who had saved her life, the crowd murmured with surprise. Human leaders bowed with respect. Ilari representatives studied him curiously. Among their people, the act of blood-giving carried deep spiritual meaning. Leon stepped back, uncomfortable with the attention. That was when the world shifted. Pain struck his mind like a fiery shard. He staggered. Hands reached for him, but he pushed them away as the pain intensified. Then the corridor dissolved. His surroundings melted into swirling silver light. He saw visions of towering crystalline halls, luminous forests spreading across floating islands, and a world bathed in soft violet skies. He heard the echo of 1,000 voices, chanting in a language he did not know yet somehow understood. Then he realized the visions were not his. They came from Leora. The resonance created by the transfusion had not faded. Instead, it had deepened. When the pain receded, he found himself supported by 2 guards. Leora stood in front of him with fear and concern etched clearly in her expression. She reached toward him as if instinctively drawn. The diplomats urged caution, but she stepped near anyway. Her voice trembled as she spoke. She explained that the transfusion had formed a binding resonance. Among her people, such bindings occurred only between close kin or chosen partners who intended to share their lives. The machine had not been designed for humans. It had not known how to limit the depth of the connection. Leon felt the corridor grow silent. The diplomats exchanged anxious glances. The war had already fractured trust between human and Ilari factions. Now the sole surviving heir of the Ilari carried an unintended bond with a human soldier. Liara insisted no blame should fall on him. Leon remained quiet. He could still sense faint currents of her fear and guilt. The station's leaders moved the discussion to a private chamber. Leora and Leon sat across from each other, while medical officers scanned them both. The scans showed that the resonance between them was stable but irreversible, without risking fatal damage to Leora. When the officers finished explaining the results, Leora lowered her gaze. She apologized softly. Her voice quivered. She had not wanted this. Yet their lives were now intertwined through a connection that neither had chosen. Leon took a slow breath. He told her he had acted to save her life because it was the right thing to do. He did not regret that. Her expression softened slightly. That evening, Leon was assigned a private room near the diplomatic wing for observation. Through the thin walls, he could hear distant echoes of arguments among diplomats. Some feared political consequences. Others believed this unexpected bond could be used to strengthen peace negotiations. Leon sat quietly, trying to gather his thoughts. He felt a faint emotional ripple across his mind. Leora was near. She approached his door hesitantly. When he invited her in, she stepped inside and closed it gently. She sat across from him while keeping a respectful distance. She explained that the resonance allowed emotional impressions to pass between them when their thoughts were unshielded. It was not mind reading. It was more like sensing each other's emotional echoes. She said she would try to shield her thoughts better. Leon shook his head gently. He said he would adapt. Liara studied him for a long moment. She admitted that among her people a binding such as this was considered sacred because it allowed two individuals to share strength during times of crisis. She said that because of the resonance, she could now draw mental steadiness from him during periods of exhaustion. Leon felt a faint warmth ripple across his thoughts. He asked if she could feel anything from him. She nodded. She said she sensed honesty and determination, and something else she struggled to name. He stayed silent. They spoke for a long time about their worlds, their histories, and their hopes for the future. Leon learned that Leora had spent years advocating for cooperation with humanity. Her father had supported her vision, but many others had not. He asked why she believed so strongly in peace. She said her people had once thrived through unity with other civilizations, not through conquest. She believed humanity carried potential for resilience, unmatched by anything she had witnessed. As she spoke, the resonance between them flickered gently. Leon felt the sincerity in her words like a warm pulse. When she finally stood to leave, she hesitated at the doorway. She thanked him again, not for saving her life this time, but for listening. After she left, he sat quietly, contemplating the uncertain future that now rested between them. The next morning alarms thundered across the station. Enemy vessels had emerged from warp faction extremists who opposed any possibility of human and Alari cooperation. They launched an assault aimed specifically at capturing or killing Leora. Leon joined the defense teams racing toward the diplomatic wing. The resonance pulsed fiercely through his mind. He sensed Leora's fear before reaching her location. He found her with a small group of guards fending off enemy infiltrators who had breached the corridor. Blaster fire illuminated the walls. Leon surged forward, driven by instinct and urgency. As he fought, he felt flashes of Leora's emotions guiding him, warning him, synchronizing his reactions with the movements of the enemy. The resonance sharpened his senses. It was as if her awareness merged with his reflexes for brief moments. Together, they repelled the attackers. When the final infiltrator fell, Leon rushed to Leora's side. She trembled, yet remained composed. The station tremored from distant impacts. Emergency lights flickered. She placed a hand gently on his arm. She thanked him with a steady voice. The evacuation plan had already begun. The Allied fleet arrived minutes later and forced the extremists to retreat. In the aftermath, the diplomats reconvened. The crisis had revealed the strength of the bond between Leon and Leora. Many Alari elders interpreted the resonance as a sign that cooperation between their civilizations was not only possible but destined. Human leaders viewed the unique connection as an unexpected bridge between species. Leora spoke with quiet certainty. She said that the resonance tied her fate to Leon's, and that their unity, though unplanned, symbolized the future she had long hoped for. She asked that both civilizations honor that future. Leon stood beside her. Though uncertainty lingered, he felt the resonance settle like a steady pulse. It no longer felt intrusive. It felt purposeful. When the assembly reached an agreement to resume peace negotiations, Leora placed her hand lightly over her heart and bowed toward Leon. He bowed in return. Their destinies were now forever linked. The binding created through blood had become the foundation for a new chapter between their worlds. Leon had given his blood to save the alien princess. In doing so, he had sealed his fate forever.